الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم إلى يوم الدين. You know, the most important, this is the agenda that if you look at it, this is a talk. I'm not going to talk about it because it's all known. One is the most important sources of knowledge about Islam. And I think all of you know it, okay? And then why the other religion was corrupted. Because, if you understand, because, obviously, somebody need to mute himself, that isn't it? If you look, do you really, we talk about the Bible, I don't know who is,
you can mute on.
huh? But if I exit from this one, I wouldn't. Brother Anis, who is speaking? Is anybody in your list? Okay. So if you look, do you think, the Jews intentionally, corrupted the religion, or the Christian corrupted the religion just for the intention this way? Or this happened because there is certain things that allowed them to do it? So I said this, so we'll talk about the doctrine that led to the corruption of previous religion, why the other religion was corrupted, and then how Islam established a system to prevent that corruption from happening. But unfortunately, as I'll show you, we actually going the same route, and then talk about, how you do tadabbur of the Quran. And you cannot do tadabbur of anything unless you know a definition of the terms of that subject. In a legal system, you have to look what is the terms means. Although the word can be used in multiple ways, but you understand what is the term means in this regard. So, in the case of the tadabbur of the Quran, I'm going to define these terms. And I think I asked several times about this. Can you define who is awliya Allah? What is the taqwa? Are you muttaqi or not muttaqi? How you know you are a muttaqi? How you know you are a believer, al-mu'mineen? How you know you are abd for Rahman? Are you really a true servant of Allah? What is the word Rahman means? What is dalal means? The misguidance mean? What is this dhann means? What is a shak means? What is called the doubt? What is knowledge, ilm means? When we say a lot of time ayat, Allah will test the people so he would know. What does it know means? Allah knows everything. So Allah doesn't need to test me to know. So what is the ilm in the way the Quran uses it? And what is the word Hanif means? Because a lot of time we said, the relative Sayyidina Ibrahim, we follow the religion of Prophet Ibrahim Hanifan. What does this Hanif means? Why? Even the Prophet ﷺ had to follow the religion of Ibrahim. And we should take, as much as we take the Prophet ﷺ as our role model, we also should take Prophet Ibrahim as our role model. What does it mean? And this comes from the term, what does Hanif means? If we look and say, okay, what is the sources of knowledge? If you want to learn about Islam, where do you go? There is three sources of knowledge about Islam. The first one is the Quran. The second one is the hadith of the reliable hadith of the authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The third one is the opinion of the scholars. I raised it so many times. I said, if I ask you about anything, if I told you, define for me what's Iman, there is no way any of you will define it from the Quran. Everybody will define it either a hadith or define it from an opinion of a scholar. I said, we all know that the Quran is the first source for us. So you should answer it first from the Quran, then actually you can expand over it. If the verse in the Quran may be so comprehensive and you want to elaborate, do it, go to the hadith and go to the opinion of the scholar. Not that, don't just focus on the Quran, but you cannot start with the other, because the trouble with it, if you start with the opinion of the scholars, there is no way you can understand the Quran without being influenced by the opinions. So if you start with the Quran first, at least your mind is pure. You're listening to the word of Allah without having any influence. But after this, you directly become the influence. And if you look, the Quran is one book. SubhanAllah. Look at the books of Hadith. How many? Look the opinion of the scholar. How many books? You know, Allah subhanahu give us a most comprehensive book. And then we want to study. You can't even study one book. Are you going to study hundreds of books and you tell me you know about the religion? You know. So now we come to the second one and says what corrupted the previous religions. There is two doctrine they have established. One of them that God must be feared. And to the point that people, like if you look at the Jewish religion, they cannot mention God by name. I mean, here we Muslims say Allah, Allah is His name. We say it, invoke it all the time. We are not afraid, from Him. And then the second one, it is prohibited for people, ordinary people, to read the divine book for a long time. A Christian or a Jew, even in Hindu, the same thing. You cannot go read their book. You have to go through a mullah or a sheikh or a priest or rabbi or something, So, so these are the two things that cause, because as soon as you put responsibility in a group of people, you will find some of them get corrupted, and as a result of corruption, then they can corrupt the religion too. But if you get the masses, everybody know it, there is no way. If I tell you information that every one of you have read it, I cannot lie to you about it. But if I'm the only one who is going to know it, I can twist it for my own benefit too. So this is the way it is. So Allah subhanahu came and put, basically barrier to these two. Also, one thing, when you say God can be feared, you cannot go to God. What people is going to do, if you have a CEO that nobody can go to the CEO directly, what do you have to do to reach and give him information and want some help from him? You have to go through what? A secretary, isn't it? That's what they have to do. That's what the kuffar, even the kuffar for Mecca, when you tell them, why you worship these idols? They didn't say we worship them because they are the creators. No, they tell them we worship them because they make us bring us near to Allah. What are we? I cannot go to Allah directly. Therefore, what I should do, I should find something in between me and Him, because I cannot reach it. So Allah subhanahu, this is why you look for Surah Al-Zumar, Ala lillahi din al-khalis. To Allah is the true deen, the submission, the religion, true religion to Allah. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِهِ أَوْلِيَاءَ. And those who take others beside Allah, what they say, what they say, مَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفًا. That we do not worship them, but to bring us closer to Allah. Why you don't too close to Allah by yourself? We can't. Allah is scary. We cannot reach Him by ourselves. Then Allah comes in to the Muslims and tell them, no, even you cannot go through the Prophet to go through me, to go to me. If you want to come to me, come directly to me, not through anyone, including the messenger of Allah. And this is why in all of the Quran, there is only one verse. What comes, if they look at all of the verses in the Quran, they ask you about this, tell them this. Ask about this, tell them this. You ask about this, tell them this. There is one verse when they said they ask you about this, Allah answered them. They tell him this. He said, I am this. So وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي, when they ask you about me, the normal answer will be, tell them I am near. But Allah subhanahu says, no. As far as me, I am answering them. They ask you about me, I'm going to answer indirectly. Therefore, Allah subhanahu says, I am near. I am near to them. They didn't tell, oh, Muhammad, tell them. If you look to all of the other verses in the Quran, they ask you what they spend, tell them Muhammad this. You ask about what do this, tell them this, except this one. That is to refute that no one can come between you and Allah. The sad part that you find some Muslim, they still do not want to go to Allah directly. They want to go through somebody. Subhanallah. The CEO asks you, and I give this example, طبعا Allah subhanahu is far greater. They ask you, if you need anything, just walk to the office and tell me what you want. And you come and stand outside, no, I have to ask the secretary first. Are you stupid? So in this, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, they ask about me, then I am near to them. I will respond to their call. I respond to their call, to the caller when he calls upon me. So let them respond to me, obey me and believe in me. And so the two requirements, if you want Allah directly to respond to you, there is two things. All what you become, obey him and believe in him. And then he directly there's no barrier between you and him. So forget about this issue about it. How about the other one, about this, that you scare? Allah subhanahu is afraid from. Allah subhanahu said في سورة المائدة, يا أيها الذين آمنوا من يرتد منكم عن دينه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه. Look at this verse. O you who believe, whoever of you should deviate from his religion, Allah will replace you. Allah will replace you with what? With who? With people who are more reverent, who pray more, who fast more. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will replace you with people whom he loves and they love him. So where is this? Where is you are afraid from God? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you are a truly believer, I love you. And in return, you will love me. Our relationship should be a relation of love. So rather than always fear. And I say always this, if you want your children, do you want them to obey you because they love you or because they're scared from you or afraid from you? And this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the relationship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us too in this regard. So that should refute, that God is cannot be reached by need somebody else. The other issue was that revelation that scholars only can read this religion, the only one who can read the books. Allah subhanahu warned of this. And he said, فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَكْتُبُونَ. Allah talk about the previous religion now. Because if you get the books in hand of you, they can corrupt it for their own benefit. فويل للذين, Allah give warning to them, يكتبون الكتاب ثم يقولون هذا من عند الله ليشتروا به ثمنا قليلا. So what they do when they write the scripture with their own hands and they say this is from Allah, why? In order to get some money for it. They gain some materialistic gain for it. So Allah subhanahu warned them and said, woe to those men from what they write and woe to them from what they hear. Then Allah subhanahu said, okay, no, I'm revealing to you that the previous religion was corrupted because some, corrupted clergy wrote things to them and told them this is from Allah. I am going to prevent this by making the responsibility of this book in your own hand for everyone. Nobody can change it for you. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, but your responsibility is to study it carefully to ensure that nobody change anything in it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said في سورة صاد, كتاب أنزلناه إليك مبارك ليدبروا آياته وليتذكر أولو الألباب. That Allah sent this book full of blessing so that they should ponder on it, should study. Tadabbur means you go deeper into it. In all its ayat, its verses, those who have and that those of whose understanding will be reminded of it. So this statement is actually a clear command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that every one of you, every human, every person who declares Islam have to study the Quran and do tadabbur of it, not just reciting the Quran. Not to sit down and say, I'm going to read it, I'll finish it in a month. No. The Quran was revealed in 23 years. So you have to study it and stop at verses and understand what it means. What is the application to me? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes and says, if you say no, if you say, oh, I'm incapable of doing this, the problem is not in your mind, the problem is your heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. It is not, don't they do the tadabbur of Quran, or there is locks on their heart. He didn't say your brain is not, is not intelligent. He said, no, the problem with the heart. So if you have a pure heart, you will be able to do the tadabbur of the Quran. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, also, he said, now, if you expecting me to send you to paradise, I put a condition on you that your heart have to be pure, have to be clear. So if you don't do the tadabbur, here is this. If you don't do the tadabbur of the Quran, your heart is diseased. You cannot go to paradise until your heart is sound. So what does it mean? Do we have any choice? It's an order. Allah, basically showed up what is the problem if you don't do it. And he said, if you don't do it, you have a bigger problem, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. When there is no wealth, no children, progeny will benefit of you, but to come Allah with a sound heart. And then something else is interesting. He said, okay, what is the role of the messenger even? If you look at this verse of Surah Al-Nahl, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Ya akhi, imagine this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have sent down to you this message, the Quran, that you might make it clearer, to clarify it to people. Explain it. You can explain it to them, but is that mean what is the responsibility then? That they should think about it. لعلهم يتفكرون. They might give it some thought. So even with the Prophet ﷺ, what he's saying it to them, Allah did not remove the responsibility from the listeners, that you should reflect on these ayat too. Don't just do it, accept it blindly. Then people come and say, oh, it's difficult, Allah subhanahu, in so many times, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this. وَلَقَدْ emphasize the Quran is easy. You don't need somebody to explain it to you. If your heart is pure, you don't need somebody to explain it to you. But وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ هَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. We have made the Quran. Allah repeated, for Surah Al-Qamar, 4 times, the same statement, 4 times, that we have made the Quran easy to understand. So is there any one of you can just to be mindful of this statement, understand it, and don't be scared from the Quran that they are going to do this? Then comes in and says, and this is interesting about Islam. We come in Islam and say there's no clergy in Islam. Isn't there? No clergy in Islam. Everyone is responsible for their own selves. But what we did, we made a clergy in Islam. We make this, and who said the Lord clergy of Islam? The same people who are, declared themselves as a clergy. And they always quote this ayah. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Okay, and this ayah has repeated for Surah Al-Nahl and Surah Al-Anbiya. If you find, and I heard it so many times, people, when you get a sheikh to describe something like finances and other things, they said, وَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you do not know. It's a verse in the Quran. So how come you telling us you are responsible, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اسألوا أهل الذكر, ask the people of knowledge, And here is where the problem is. This is the problem when you take part of the verse and don't read the whole verse. When the total verse comes in and says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ إِلَّا رِجَالًا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِمْ we have not sent before you messenger except as men whom we have revealed to them. Because remember, was a kuffar will come want to do what? They said, you're just a man like us. If Allah wants to send a messenger, He send an angel. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell them, that we haven't sent anyone before you, no messenger before we, but a man. فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. Okay. What is this أهل الذكر in this verse? Whom are you going to ask to know if Allah sent, other than men as messenger? Who? People of history, historians, people who study best history, who study best religions. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with understanding the history. Comes in as another ayah. إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء. That only the ulama who fear Allah. And this is Surah Fatir. Only ulama. So when you take ulama, you said, yeah, ulama, religious scholars. That directly, if I tell you this, only ulama fear Allah, I said, yeah, absolutely. The religious scholar who study all of these books, they are don't fear Allah. I said, read the verse, the complete verse. Did Allah talk about these ulama of religion? The word ulama came from Quran related to the Muslim actually once. And this is the verse. It came referring to Bani Israel, but it came to us this way. Alam tara anna Allah, didn't you see that Allah anzala min as-sama'i ma, He sent down water from the sky. فأخرجنا به ثمرات مختلفا ألوان, and then we produce from it fruit of different color. ومن الجبال, and from among the mountain, جدد بيض وحمر مختلفا ألوانها وغرابيب سود, and from the mountain there is this tracks of white and red varying colors, and some of them are very black. ومن الناس والدواب والأنعام, and among the human, الدواب, the creeping creatures, and the cattle الأنعام مختلفا ألوانها, others also have different colors. And also from the people also of different colors. Now, what is all of this? What is this? Who is the person who knows about the rain, who knows about the plantation, about the plants, who study about the mountains and their colors and understand why the different mountains have different colors, who understand why the world look different, why people look different? Who are these? Are religious scholars? Or are these scientists who study the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come and say, كَذَلِكَ إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءُ. That means only in Allah Aziz al-Ghafur, that only those people who study the creation are the one who fear me the most. So the ulama here, as far as the Muslim is concerned, is not ulama al-deen. It's ulama al-tabi'ah, who studied the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why, if you really want to know Allah, if you study, this is the sad part. In the books of Aqidah, if you want, Aqidah, which is the beliefs, what did they focus in? Asma Allah wa Sifat. The names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understanding the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is different than what they study, because they do the debate about it. Allah has hand. Allah doesn't have a hand, have one hand or have two hands. Allah sits down. Allah goes down from the heavens, to the first level of heaven and listen to people and talk about things which you cannot say about Allah at all. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, anything you say about my essence, my physical attributes, I am not like it. If Allah tell you, you would just don't understand it. So why you even indulge in it? But He said, you want to know me, then study my creation. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in all of many verses in the Quran, talks about study خلق السماوات والأرض. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب. that in the creation of the heaven and the earth and the alteration of the day and the night are these signs for those understanding, you know. And then the other one is study the Quran. So that way to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is three things. Yes, you study the creation of Allah, you study the Quran because you get guidance from the Quran because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come and say, ذلك in the beginning of the Quran, ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. In this book, there is guidance for you if you have taqwa, to those who have taqwa. And this is why I said, now we have to define, are you having a taqwa or not? Because if you want to do tadabbur of the Quran, you have to work first on being one of those people that Allah described al-muttaqin. If you don't have a taqwa, the Quran would not guide you. So you better work on yourself first on what is a taqwa is as defined by Allah. And as is part of the whole discussion. And then also another thing is reflect on Allah's names and attributes. And remember, we did talk about this one, how you are going to adopt even the element of the names of Allah in your character, not to describe the essence of Allah, but to look at if Allah is Kareem, Allah is Rahim, then in that case you want to have the same, adopt the name in your character as well as the Khalifa of Allah in this regard. Let me see. Let's see if I can finish at a good time. I'll finish with this couple of things here, and then we'll go. Allah subhanahu says that in Surah At-Tawbah, if you follow somebody blindly, you are worshiping that person. So if following someone blindly is a shirk. What it means? That means you don't listen to anybody? No, listen, but not blindly. You listen, understand what you're saying. If you are convinced with it and you can validate it and you follow it, it's become yours. But just blind because the Sheikh said this, I'm going to follow it automatically? No. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاتَّخَذُوا أَحْبَارَهُمْ وَرُهْبَانَهُمْ أَرْبَابًا مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ. They take the rabbis and their monk as gods beside Allah. And when one person, his name Uday ibn Hatim, he was a Christian, he was sitting when the Prophet was reciting this ayah and told him, we don't worship them. He said, don't you accept them when they tell you this is halal and this is haram? And he said, yes. He said, this is worship. This is shirk. You're taking as gods this way. So never take anybody give you something halal and haram without you validating it. And don't tell me I'm lazy. No. If it is important to know it, it's a religion, and the consequences of getting wrong is severe. And if you make mistakes yourself, Allah will forgive you. But if you accept it blindly without even being serious to understand it, is it according to Allah's commands or not? You are responsible then in this regard. And this is why you look at all of the ulama. I'm quoting a few of them. Imam al-Shafi'i, he said that the example of the one who accepts knowledge without proof, you accept opinion from somebody without you validating it, is like the one who gathered wood at night and carry it in a bundle over his shoulder, and there is a snake in it and he doesn't know it. He said, better validate it, have a proof first before this. And then Imam Ibn Hazm, he said, it is prohibited to follow anyone's opinion without evidence, except for that of the Prophet ﷺ. If the Prophet ﷺ said this, okay, we'll follow. And then Imam Malik, actually, this is quoted by people from, student of Imam Malik, which is Imam Malik would say this, it was not the way of the people, nor for the people, nor those who preceded us, nor I would have ever encountered anyone I follow who would say about something, this is halal and this is haram. They would not dare to say this is halal and this is haram. They did not make such a declaration. You have not heard the word of Allah. And then he quoted this. What they used to say without, since I'm going to post this, you can read it. They said, we like this and we don't like this, or this is my opinion. But to say halal and haram, only Allah can say it. Because Allah subhanahu says, and he was quoting this ayah, قل أرأيتم ما أنزل الله لكم من رزق فجعلتم منه حلالا وحراما قل الله أذن لكم أم على الله تفترون. Allah subhanahu says, say till then, what provision Allah have sent down, which you have made some of it halal and some haram. Has Allah given you permission? Or you are fabricating against information against Allah? And this is Surah Yunus. You just said the halal is what Allah make it halal. Haram is what Allah make it halal. And Allah made it clear. Make everything halal except a few things that Allah made it haram. I think I'll stop here just because of the time and then carry it later. Let me see here. But one here. Oh, one, just maybe this one will be okay, about your responsibility. Yes. Remember this. When we are going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judgment, are you going to stand with anybody next to you to defend you? We all know this. وَلَقَدْ جِئْتُمُونَ فُرَادًا كَمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. You will come to us alone as we have created you the first time. So everyone will stand in front of Allah subhanahu by himself. Then Allah subhanahu will come. He said, وَكُلُّ إِنسَانٍ أَلْزَمْنَاهُ طَائِرَهُ فِي عُنُقِهِ. And every person will have his fate, his book around his neck. His record is his, وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يعني his fate in his neck, and will bring for him on the day of judgment a book which he will find open. اقرأ كتابك. Read your own book. كَفَى بِنَفْسِكَ الْيَوْمَ عَلَيْكَ حَسِيبًا. That in that day it is enough for you to be held. You are yourself, you are going to read your own book and be held accountable for it. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, are you going to have excuses? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة ولو ألقى معاذيره. Rather, man will be a witness against himself, no matter how much excuses he gave. So on the day of judgment, there is no excuses. All what you do, you have to defend your action by yourself. You are going to blame anyone, and Allah will not accept blaming anyone, Because at that point, the person who you're blaming, he probably will deny that he ever told you anything also in this regard. So if you are going to be responsible in front of Allah by yourself, and nobody will stand, shouldn't you at least they said, okay, I understood it, I did it, this is what my understanding, and I'm held accountable for what I have did and what I accepted and what I have said. So I think we'll finish at this and continue inshallah next time. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك يا ربنا تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيك وفضلك عمن سواك. اللهم فضلك ورحمتك على كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. ربنا اللهم أوزعنا أن نشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علينا وعلى والدينا وأن نعمل صالحا ترضاه. اللهم اصلح لنا في ذريتنا إنا تبنا إليك وإننا من المسلمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves guarded from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. Oh Allah, we have our son Ma'raj, our daughter Aisha Wani, and our grandson Isa. Oh Allah, grant all of them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, we know that there is no cure but yours. Oh Allah, grant them a cure that leaves no ailment or injury. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them and make them righteous. Oh Allah, we ask with every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, His worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.